Hello and welcome into the wrong side of the pond. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications, stay up to date on all the content here on the wrong side of the pond. Today we're doing boxing. We've heard recently that Top Rank will be bringing their stuff back, and Las Vegas is opening to boxing fights and UFC fights. Matchroom Boxing with Eddie Hearn, they are opening their own fight camp at Matchroom headquarters. So I wanted to discuss some post-COVID fights I would like to see. I think if boxing can learn anything from the pandemic, it is that we can't wait around for these big fights anymore. We want to see them. We want the promoters to make them. We're fed up of people, trying to get out of fights or not wanting to fight other fighters. After this COVID, I would like to see some fights made that I think I would enjoy. So first up, my opinion, I'm sure in the comments afterwards I'll probably get some people moaning that I didn't pick Joshua Fury, but I'm sure everybody in boxing wants to watch Joshua Fury. Everybody does. Everybody outside of boxing wants to watch Joshua Fury. It's just not going to be on the list because I'll pick some other fights. That's all it is. So the first fight is to do with Joshua Fury, and it's Deontay Wilder versus Dillian Whyte. So how many days has Dillian Whyte been the mandatory? I don't know, 600 or something, 700 days? Wilder's had other plans, he's fought other people. He did go into 2 fights with Tyson Fury, so you can't criticise him too much. And coming out of this COVID, they're talking about going into Wilder Fury 3 and then Joshua possibly fighting the winner. That just leaves Dillian Whyte in no man's land. I just don't think it's a good idea either for Deontay Wilder to go into a fight with Tyson Fury. I think the first fight, Fury boxed his head off. Wilder landed a massive shot. Fury got up. Whether you think it was the 10 count or not, he got up. Get over it. End of the day, he whooped him on points and he was robbed. And then in the rematch, he realised this guy can't fight going backwards. Let's face it, Deontay Wilder's a killer going forwards. He can knock anybody out in the division. If he goes forward against Tyson Fury in the rematch and just lets it go, he may knock him out again. Who knows? But Fury was like, I'm just going to bully him. I'm going to push him back. I'm going to bully him and I'm going to beat him up. And he broke him in the middle of the ring for everybody to see. He just broke him down slowly and just beat him up and then knocked him down so many times that the ref was saving him. If straight after this whole thing happens, Wilder wants another fight with Fury, I just don't see it ending well for Deontay Wilder just yet. Needs a couple wins on his belt, but I don't want to see him going back to fighting who he was fighting before, pre-Luis Ortiz, because they just weren't at a standard of the heavyweight champion. And I'd like to see him fight somebody in the top 10. If it's not Dillian Whyte, then that's fine, but let's see you fight somebody like Michael Hunter, Povetkin, Usyk, anybody who's a top 10 heavyweight now. I want to see Wilder fight, not go back down to, he doesn't need to go down to a level where he doesn't belong. He belongs in the top 10. I don't care what people say about his technical ability. He is a dangerous heavyweight. Dillian Whyte, on the other hand, is an absolute monster to fight. I think he gets a lot of stick in America because they've seen him on a Joshua undercard where he looked really fat. I've seen a lot of people slagging him off for that. That is not Dillian Whyte. If you see Dillian Whyte in his Chisora fights, in his Parker fights, in his Joshua fight, he is a man who will fight anybody and he will leave it all in the ring. He's my favourite fighter to watch in the whole of the sport. I love Dillian Whyte. I will buy Dillian Whyte's pay-per-views no matter what because I love him. I think his attitude is just go in there, let's have a scrap. He talks a load of bollocks before the fight. He talks a load of bollocks after the fight. When he's in the ring, he's going to fight, and that's what I like to watch. Dillian Whyte versus Deontay Wilder has just got bedlam in the pre-fight, and then when the bell goes, that could last 30 seconds. Dillian Whyte could go across the ring and Deontay Wilder could smash him in the face and knock him out. Or he could go across the ring, smash Deontay Wilder and take him out in a couple of rounds. Or they could have a technical box for a couple of rounds, act like they're boxers, and then one of them will hit the other one and they'll just have a massive ruckus in the middle of the ring until one of them is unconscious. It's just got great fight written all over it. I don't know why. Nobody's made this. I know the mandatory position, whatever. Just make the fight. That's all I want to see. I want to see this fight probably more than any fight. The cruiserweight division, I tried to look at each division, but it was quite hard going down through divisions of fights that weren't already happened or in the top sort of 10 or 15, and fights that will not be the greatest spectacle to watch. The cruiserweight division really at the minute is Bradis versus Dorcas in the final of the WBSS. So that really ties them two up, and that's a good fight. Andrew Tabiti I like in that division. He obviously was knocked out by Dorcas in the semi-finals. I'd like to see him get in with some of the other guys, maybe Golowacki. I know Okoli, I think he's number 8 in BoxRec. If I do say rankings, I'm going by BoxRec rankings. I'm not going by WBC rankings or WBA rankings, so don't criticise me. So Okoli's number 8 in that ranking. I think he's been linked with Glowacki. They were having a fight or something before this old COVID was going to happen. But I'd like to see, if anything, in that division, maybe a Tabiti versus Makabu. Makabu is a dangerous man. I think he's won every single fight since he got annihilated by Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew's no slump. So I think a fight with him and Tabiti. I think Tabiti needs a good comeback fight first before going into somebody like Makabu. Maybe Okoli gets in there with Makabu. There'll be some good fights I'd like to see in that division, but nothing major there. In the light heavyweight division, you look at it, there's some good fighters in that division. But the fight I think everybody will agree with is Bivol versus Beterbiev. Them two are just monsters. I don't think anybody's stopping them. I also like the Callum Johnson fight going against Buatsi. But I think Callum Johnson is a top fighter, like a good fighter. I do think he's a fringe world. I don't know if he's world. He did give Beterbiev a bit of a hard time, but I don't know if Callum Johnson's really as elite as those other guys. And I think Buatsi could be. And I do think Buatsi dispatches of Callum Johnson, but that's a fight I'd like to see. But mainly the Beterbiev Bivol fight, that is a fight. If you don't know who those guys are because they're not massive names, just go watch them. Super middleweight, there's a few fights I'd like to see. There's just a klutz of people at the minute. I'd like to see Callum Smith, David Benavides is a good fight. There's also Caleb Plant there. There's the John Ryder. I think he deserves a shot at somebody after, like, I had him winning the fight against Callum Smith, whether he gets the Smith rematch or whether Callum Smith, he obviously was looking at the Canelo fight, but maybe looking at somebody else, maybe Caleb Plant in America, maybe Benavides. I think Eddie Hearn's talked about the Danny Jacobs. I'd like to see any of these guys, just put 2 of them in the ring and let's see what happens. At middleweight, it's a bit of a all over the place at the minute, isn't it? Canelo and Saunders, they're fighting, they're not fighting. Then Canelo's going to fight in Japan to fight Murata. Then he's saying he's waiting to or people are saying he's waiting to Golovkin. Just seems to be a lot of mixed because of this whole COVID. It's just all mixed around. Nobody's really decided on any fights yet. I'd like to probably see out of all of that. So I think Charlo's up there as well. I'd like to see maybe like a Charlo. I think 2 guys that do need to fight actually is 2 guys that talk a lot of business, but they need to prove a lot. And I think that's Chris Eubank Jr. and Charlo, because them two, Charlo's had some good wins in his career, but he's a PBC fighter and he gets paid a lot of money to beat up nobodies half of the time. And Chris Eubank Jr. seems to wander around looking for promoters because his dad at times is hard to work with. He's royally pissed off Frank Warren. He's royally pissed off Eddie Hearn. His last fight was against Matty Korobov in New York, which Korobov looked like he was doing alright for the first couple rounds. I think he dislocated his shoulder or broke his arm or something like that. Arm injury. And Eubank's best win is against the faded DeGeo, is it? Probably. Arthur Abraham. Like, he lost to George Groves. Eubank his father talks a lot for him. He says a lot sometimes. He's telling us lately that he can beat Golovkin. Maybe chuck him and Charlo in together and see what happens with them two. And maybe they can get the winner of a Golovkin or Canelo or Billy Joe Saunders. The light middleweight division isn't, or super welterweight, whatever you want to call it, isn't the most sought after division right now. It rarely has been over the last couple of years. It seems to be once Canelo moved on from that, and it wasn't really much around. There's obviously the Americans, Charlo, J-Rock, Hurd, Harrison. They've sort of owned that division. Kell Brooks moved up there. So out of all of them, I'd probably like to see Erickson Lubin going up against Jared Hurd. 2 guys that have had losses now, but 2 good fighters. I'd like to see one. Then they have to have a bit of a crossroads fight, see if they can get them careers back on track, get themselves back up into that world title contention. At welterweight, it's Pacquiao Spence, I think is the main fight to make there. Spence has done well to beat Mikey Garcia, but obviously Mikey was moving up, etc. He's beaten Sean Porter. He's had some good wins, beat Kell Brook. Manny Pacquiao is the ticket though. Manny Pacquiao is the man you want to beat, and it's up to Errol Spence. Can he do that, or will this Pacquiao train just keep rolling, beating anybody he wants, losing fights, come back again? We'll have to find out, but I think that's a fight I'd like to see. Apart from that, Keith Thurman, like losing to Pacquiao, he fights every 18 months, whatever he does. So it will probably be a while before we see Keith Thurman back in the ring. The other guys in the division who aren't Spence and Pacquiao, I think those 2 guys are at the top of the minute, but maybe just throw them guys into a ring in it, just Royal Rumble style, just throw them all in, see what happens. Because we just need some fights. I want to get some fights. It's been months. Just discussed Mikey Garcia going up against Errol Spence. I think 147 is too big for Mikey Garcia. I know the guy wants to fight at 147 because of who fights at 137. It's sort of a money division, a welterweight division. Coming back down though, I think his best weight's more at 140, but he can come down 135. Maybe him and Loma can make that fight, because I think Lomachenko needs some like other fighters. He's dominated that 135 division. Good fight with Luke Campbell, but I think that now he's going to move on. Maybe he'll fight Teofimo Lopez or a Gervonta Davis. But I'd like to see a Mikey Garcia fight. If Mikey Garcia doesn't fight Lomachenko, I think Josh Taylor should fight Mikey Garcia, because that is another good fight that I'd like to see. Josh Taylor is a very underrated fighter. Going into that 135 division, you've got Lomachenko at the top of it. He maybe is too good for everybody else in that division. Maybe he fights Teofimo Lopez or Gervonta Davis. But you have got other guys in that division that I'd like to see going against each other. A Devin Haney with Luke Campbell. This whole mess that they've had with their world title, where Loma was the world champion, then Devin Haney got the title, but he was injured, so Luke Campbell ended up getting mandatory or eliminating for it. I don't know what happened. In the end, they all messed it up, but it comes down to Devin Haney should just fight Luke Campbell. That is a fight to make. Devin Haney is known in the UK because of his links with Matchroom. I think that sells out the O2 if you put it there with a good undercard. But my whole point of this is, now that we're going back to boxing, it's up to these promoters now, up to these fighters. There's no point waiting. There's no point saying, no, I'll fight them next year. You got to take the big fights. Let's throw them in. Let's see these big fights. Let's make Joshua Fury. Let's make these big fights. That's all the fans want. So those are some of the fights that I'd like to see when we come out of this period and boxing gets back underway. I know it's not going to happen straight away with no crowds happening, because you're not going to put Whyte Wilder with no crowd that's going to sell tickets. You're not going to put these big fights on until they sell some tickets, and it's not going to happen until we get the social distancing is more relaxed. But let me know what you think. Who do you want to see fighting off after this COVID? It's going to be a good time for boxing, I believe. Let me know in the comments. Like, share and subscribe, and thanks for watching.